end of the day, the most impactful kind of marketing is word of mouth and relationships. And I think that it's really easy to forget that, especially, in 2021. I've had a long career in agriculture, so I work with a lot of farmers on regenerating healthy soils. And then I've been always interested in housing, especially in thinking through how we occupy more rural areas. And because in the US, we have so many people living in cities and very few living in the countryside and on farmland. And so I've always been curious about how do we provide housing options that are more affordable but beautiful for rural areas. And and then my partner and his brother started this business. We all are co-founders together, and their background is in traditional construction as well as in remodeling work. And so they came from years of doing what we call stick build, building with contractors and from the ground up and creating a new plan every time you build. And so there's an excitement around what we do because we've created several models, but they're made in the factory. So they still have the same aesthetic and beautiful contemporary style, but they're so much easier because we're building them in the factory setting. Manufactured homes are built in a factory. So they're built on top of a steel chassis, and then they have wheels, and then they can be delivered by a truck to any home site. And often they come in a couple of pieces if they're larger, and then we install them on site. One of the things we love about them is you can install them on temporary foundation or on permanent foundation. So they're versatile in that way. We save a lot of waste by building in a factory because we can be very specific about all of the materials. And then if you don't use a little bit of a material, then it gets used on the next housing order, things like that. There's a lot of waste on construction sites. The other thing is they're a lot lighter on the land when we install them. So even though they're just as earthquake safe or the foundations are just as stable, we're not pouring as much concrete on site or building on land. We're just stabilizing them and tying them down to the land when it gets there. Where we are, the cost of building traditionally has gotten really, really high. So there's a cost savings to manufactured housing. We also differ from modular or other prefab companies in that we're regulated under a different building code, which allows for less inspections when you're installing the home, which can make it go a lot faster. As well as, during the installation process, some people are adding a home to a piece of land. And if you were building traditionally, it could take a year or 2 years, and you have construction crews on site the whole time. With our homes, we're installing them in 1 to 3 months. And so you don't have all that disruption in your lives. So we do have clients who are in city areas, and we do have clients in rural areas. A lot of times we end up building more rurally because that's where there's land that's undeveloped, but then in cities, sometimes we're installing a second home on the same piece of land. It kind of depends on the density of the city. In the neighborhood we live in California, we had a major fire a couple of years ago. And so a lot of our clients have been fire rebuild, and some didn't have the insurance or the money to rebuild. And at least in the coastal areas of California, our homes are less expensive than traditional construction. So it's a cost savings for people. But we also have people who are using our homes in development because it's faster and some of the permitting is easier. And as I mentioned, that time on site is way less. And so that's a huge savings for people who are developing land. We work with some clients who are developing multiple homes at a time, but we also work with a couple clients who just wanted to develop one piece of land with one home and rent it as like a rental property. So we get a whole different range. Perception around mobile homes is not necessarily as good or less quality, and that perception all comes, I think, from the type of materials used and not necessarily from the building code itself. So the actual building code is very stringent and strict, and we're using the highest quality materials. And then from a structural perspective, the structures are actually stronger because they're built on steel and they're built to be able to move. So it really depends on what cost you're paying as far as the materials, and but as far as the building of them, they're just the same, or in some cases stronger than traditional building. But we do offer both. So we have a luxury park model that we sell to mobile home communities, and then we have models that we sell for traditional real estate. I think I'm always really curious about how do we improve and evolve the way we live, and ask questions about challenging kind of the status quo and how life is, and can we make it a little bit better. So I'm always driven by that in both the work I've done in agriculture and now work that I'm doing in housing. And then, yeah, I arrived here through a long journey. But again, I've been working in food and still work in food and agriculture for a very long time. But also have been asking all these questions around how do we occupy more land, and happen to have met a partner who is really interested in housing. And so, yeah, we've been working on this together. You know, if I had like a magic wand, I would do away with some of the regulations that make it hard to innovate. Because I think there's some incredible building materials and energy efficiency materials and things we can do to reduce water and recycle water and use solar and use incredible innovations that people are making. And a lot of the blocks are regulation and building codes and the ability to actually use them in different municipalities. So it's really important to love people, because purchasing a home is, it becomes a very long-term relationship. It's not like purchasing a piece of clothing or, a piece of jewelry, which would be, a decision that you can make in an instant. I think purchasing a home is a big decision. It's also a place where you're gonna live your life, and it's where you're gonna invite your friends over for dinner and have your family. And so I think you really have to love people and be genuinely interested in what they care about, and in order to find a right fit in a home that works for them. Definitely organized. There's so many details that go into making a home. It's a complex purchase, and so being detail oriented, that's something that we're actually innovating. As we're about to launch a website where you can select all your finishes right on the website. And so we're streamlining that process and helping people make all those small selections that make their home unique, but have all those details matter. It's good to be creative. There's always, especially anytime you start a business, there are challenges that come up. So whether you're in sales or manufacturing or whatever part of the business you're in. I think that creativity and ability to problem solve is really important. We've tried a lot of things, local press, newspapers, magazines, social media. But I think at the end of the day, the most impactful kind of marketing is word of mouth and relationships. And I think that it's really easy to forget that, especially, in 2021. We have so many different tools at our fingertips. There's the internet, there's so many technologies that help you market or think through marketing. And there's so many ways to invest in marketing. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about relationships and getting to know people who might be interested in what you're offering to the world. And so I think that the marketing that works best is through those personal connections and through networking and through, hosting people. We have a showroom, so we get to show people what we do. And I think that's the marketing that works the best. We definitely use a lot of emailing, phone calls, but I think what's most fun is just to host people. And so continuing to host gatherings, which has been very hard the last couple of years, but as things start to open up and we can do that more, I think that's the best way to stay in touch with people. At some point you get to know if someone is really excited about what you do, and that's the ideal type of client, is to have someone who is really excited about what you're offering. I also think it's nice when you can find a place of mutual trust with a client. There are certain things that are really our specialty, so we have a deeper understanding of all the materials that go into the house or the specifics of installation. And when we can find trust and our clients don't have to worry about all that, I think that's always the best. Yeah, we found the virtual staging to be really amazing, especially because we do offer our own line of furniture, but not all of our clients choose to purchase it. So once we install a home, we don't always get to photograph it with a style that's necessarily our style. And so the advantage of virtual staging is certainly the ease and speed and cost savings, but also being able to choose a specific style that we want to display in a home that we've built. We also do have a virtual reality tour of a couple of our homes, and that's been really incredible. Just because, again, a home is something you want to experience, and if you can't always tour something, it's really hard to visualize as a client what that might look like. So I found the virtual reality to kind of be that next best thing to an in-person tour. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. It was affordable, it was super fast. And I think it was pretty easy to go back and forth and say, we like this, but not that, or can we change that? And I found it to be a really great process. Yeah, I think for the most part, it changed the way we marketed. We were hosting a lot of events at our showroom and hosting talks and being able to have people over for, snacks and to see in person. So that changed. We went to only being able to schedule a certain number of tours a day and needing to clean in between them. And so that really shifted our business, and, from having open houses where people can just wander in to having to schedule everything. That was a big shift. In some ways, I just think about the schedule of my day and scheduling that time for myself and my family, because especially when you're an entrepreneur, the work is never over. The to-do list is never complete. The opportunities are never exhausted, and so it's really about just thinking about your life as a whole, and from that balanced perspective, thinking not only about the work list, but about the goals you have in your home, or for gathering with friends and family, or for eating and cooking food, or so yeah, I think it's really all about thinking about your life as a whole, and scheduling in that time. Yeah, from my experience, the joy of this field is it's really thinking about what the opportunity we can create together is between the client and the business, instead of just this is what we're selling and we hope people like it, but what can we create together, and really asking questions around what's the world we want to live in, and how can we deliver value to people in order to create that world. And yeah, I think that if we can view our work from that lens and that perspective, that there's so much more we can create.